6 sensories be vulnerable with 5 sensories? The answer is yes, and with a lot of nuances. So what do I mean by that? So when you hear the advice, be vulnerable, it's very common. It's recommended by Brene Brown. And the problem with it is vulnerable is such a broad term that people mistake it to mean certain behaviors that they think are okay, but they're actually not very wise. There are certain behaviors that a 6 sensory should not engage a 5 sensory in, and instead they want to go to a support group with other 6 sensories, or maybe just a specific sport community group to work on their insecurities. So for example, that's number 1, insecurities. Don't share your insecurities as a 6 sensory with a 5 sensory person, because what they're likely doing is making a list in their mind of what your insecurities are. And then if you ever have an argument about something, they'll probably pull them out of the drawer and start using them against you. And they may just observe you and come up with insecurities on their own as well. The key to managing that is a 6 sensory. If they bring it up and it's kind of annoying, then just ignore them. Don't let it get under your skin because they said something to you about, oh, your body looks a certain way, or you do this or that as a mannerism. They're likely teasing you because they're just trying to build rapport and make you more attracted to them. That's kind of a trick that they have up their sleeve. Sometimes this is a narcissistic behavior, but sometimes it's just more of a normal teasing behavior that 5 sensories engage in. If they're doing it a lot and it gets too creepy and too annoying, that could be a sign that they're not a good fit for you. But if they're doing it very lightly and they do it once in a while, they're probably just trying to trigger you a little bit and get you emotional. But don't volunteer any insecurities to them. That's just giving them ammo to tease you even more. And it can drive you crazy if you're not careful. But if it's just very minor, I would just ignore it. Or you could look at them and find something minor to tease them about and fire it back at them, if you really want to give them a taste of their own medicine. Having said that, be careful fighting fire with fire. I made a video about don't fight patriarchy with patriarchy on Instagram, and it's quite similar with 5 sensory tactics. Just don't fight with them with using their own tactics. Usually they know them better and they'll probably turn them against you and win. So it's better to just not give them any ammo to tease you. The next way that being vulnerable can backfire on you is when you're sharing your stories about how you blame other people for your problems. And it can make a lot of sense when you're sharing that with your 6 sensory friends or your really great friends and family. You might blame an ex, for example, for cheating on you, or you might blame an ex for behaving badly and flirting with your friend, or whatever they did, the dastardly things that our exes did, right? Having said that, when you blame people, you're not taking responsibility for whatever happened in that relationships. And us 6 sensories should know about taking responsibility for our lives. Most of us know that everything that happens to us, we're responsible for 100%, and we have to own up to it. And very clever 5 sensories actually know about this too. They may not know about intuition or psychic ability or spirituality, but they do know this principle of owning up to your life and being 100% responsible for your life, the clever ones. And so if you go on complaining and blaming other people for your problems, like I'm still single because this person did this to me or whatever, it's not going to be good. And that's, again, going to be ammo for them to either tease you or break up with you or do something dastardly. So again, just keep those things private, keep it to your community and the people who are there to support you. Don't share it in your intimate relationships with 5 sensory people who you know are not going to be receptive and even turn that information against you. My third piece of information that you shouldn't share with a 5 sensory when you're a 6 sensory is you shouldn't share your feelings first. What do I mean by that? So if you're falling in love with a 5 sensory, it's probably not a wise decision to share that first. Just wait for them to share it first, because 5 sensories by their nature are a bit more competitive. They enjoy taking risks. They enjoy winning the person over and that whole process in romantic relationships. So if you come out and say first, I love you, it kind of takes the chase away from them, the thrill away from them, and then they start feeling bored in relationships. And so it's better to wait for them to get up the courage to share their feelings first, and then you can reciprocate. Now, having said that, it completely depends on the dynamic of the relationship and who is more sensitive, right? So this can be a tricky one to get right. If you're not sure, just wait for the other person to go first. I would say that's the safest advice. And you may have to get one-on-one coaching if you think you have a unique situation, but people tend to think they have a unique situation and they really don't. So usually that advice is good advice for most people, but it's possible you could follow your intuition and there could be an exception, but it's rare. So the next piece of advice about being vulnerable, where does being vulnerable work? It actually does work when you communicate a need that the five sensory can really help you with. So let's say, for example, I'm feeling vulnerable because I have something in my house that keeps breaking and I'm scared that it's going to have a bad impact on my life. Maybe the five sensory is very handy and they enjoy coming to your house to help you fix something. Or maybe it's a load that you need to carry physically. Like I have something very heavy that I need to carry. Maybe I need help from a five sensory who's stronger than me to carry the thing that I'm trying to carry. It depends how strong they are. So for me as a woman, it's interesting because I'm actually physically quite strong. And it's rare that I come across people that are stronger than me, but it's a real treat when I do. I love it because it's fun to be able to ask for help with that kind of thing. Having said that, it really depends who's the stronger person, but asking for help on something practical, or maybe you don't know how to cook something and the other person's better at cooking, or you're feeling cold and they turn up the heat for you, like very practical things that you feel vulnerable about. Five sensories can be really happy to help you and step in. Five sensories also respond really well when you ask them for practical advice on a subject. However, warning, actually follow their advice on whatever you ask them about if you're going to ask them for advice, because they get very annoyed if you ask for advice and then you don't follow it. So if you suspect the five sensory is not going to give you good advice on a certain topic that you want to talk about, don't talk about it in front of them because they'll probably give you the wrong advice and then you won't follow it and then they'll be very annoyed. So it's better to not bring up those topics. Pick your topics wisely when you ask them for advice. But if it is something they genuinely know something about and can help you with, then ask for their advice and follow up on their advice. You can ask them for a break if you're very tired and you need more rest. Five sensories understand that. You can also ask to leave the room or to take some time to rest when they've been offensive. So you can do it if you genuinely need the rest. And often six sensories, we get oversaturated and we do need rest. We do need time to recuperate, but at the same time, we can also ask for rest if the five sensory is being obnoxious or saying the wrong thing. And either way, we need the rest to recharge, right? But stepping away is also a signal to them that they can't keep behaving obnoxiously. And they'll be able to read between the lines and understand if they've behaved the wrong way or if you just genuinely need rest. Five sensories are more intelligent than we give them credit for, and they may not understand six sensory topics, but they understand a lot about life, and usually they understand what we need perfectly well, and they know how to give it to us, and they're just choosing not to. And then as six sensories, we're the ones pretending that they don't know, because that's a more comfortable thought for us to have, rather than to understand that they do know how to take care of us, and they're just choosing not to take care of us. Having said that, if you do things right, like I said in this video, and you follow good advice, usually five sensories will step in to take care of you in very practical ways that help you feel safe and feel loved as a six sensory. And whatever validation that they can't help you with, that you need to go to a six sensory community to get, you'll understand where that distinction lies, and you won't feel so insecure trying to validate yourself with people who don't understand you or don't get you. And that's only going to build your self-confidence.